Hello, hello. As people start to roll in, welcome. So glad to have everyone here today. If you, as you jump in, would you mind just putting in the chat your name? Well, we'll see your name, I guess, but where you're at, your organization, and if you have any questions, we do have the Q&A button, so definitely try to use that, but we will try to keep an eye on the chat. But yeah, we are, the numbers are climbing, people are coming in. Let's see. Yeah, so if you are just coming in, make sure you put your name and your organization and just where you're calling in from today. So I am so excited to have some of my favorite people all on a call. I feel so lucky. So we're gonna jump in. We're not gonna waste any time. As people are still rolling in, can we go ahead and do some introductions? Jahan, can I start with you?
Yeah, hi. Hi, Rachel. My name is Jehan Sarafi. I'm the co-founder and executive director of Sansar Maya. We run after school and women's literacy programs in Nepal.
Amazing. Trent, what about you?
Yes, hello. My name is Trent Rash. I am the executive director of the Missouri Symphony, which is located right in the middle of Missouri. A professional orchestra, also does education to young musicians.
Amazing. Heather?
And I'm Heather Hooper. I'm the executive director of Dementia Alliance of North Carolina. We're a statewide organization serving those living with dementia and their caregivers.
Love it. Incredible. Such amazing organizations, and you guys are going to have a chance to get to know them a little bit better here in just a second. I love that we've got Amy calling in from Pittsburgh, and we have Wendy from Ohio, and Debbie, hello, another Sprouted member, and Jillian, who is a brand new member joining. So loving that we have so many people on. If you, oh, and we have Michelle, who I know is calling in from Australia. It's like 4 a.m. Bless you, amazing. But yeah, let us know where you're at and what your organization is. So let's dig in. So part of the Sprouted community is really bringing together small shop organizations. The whole idea is that you have these resources, so it's part curriculum, part community, but you are able to move your organization forward because you have support. And so let's start off. It's a brand new year. Trent, do you mind kicking us off, just kind of giving us a highlight of like what are you doing in 2023? Like, what is your focus?
Absolutely, thanks. So we just recently hired a new music director, the third in our history, our 52-year history, which is pretty amazing. So the word for this year for us is stabilize. We are looking to we made a lot of change. And so this year we're looking to sort of stabilize, to kind of get into a routine of sorts as much as we can. But we also are working on a new exciting season model that will launch in the fall. So that will kind of give more touch points with the orchestra throughout the year. So once that is kind of the last big change, and then we'll just be working on really stabilizing what we have in place.
So stabilize is a really special word inside the community. Trent, do you want to speak to that just a little bit? Also, my heart is so happy right now because
we talk a lot was it SES Stabilize? I'm trying to think of
Stabilize, Optimize,
Expand. It was one of the first sheets I ever did. One of the first things I ever did when I joined this community about 3 years ago. We have often you can do it for various different programs, and we have done that. But my goal is to kind of do it at a higher level for us, because we have just had, now that we have this sort of staff in place, it's been in place for a while. We're just really looking to make sure that we have the best systems in place for what we have before we look to grow anything further. And that's really what our focus will be. Before we can expand or optimize, we're going to stabilize what we have, make sure we have those systems, those succession plans in place, and then we'll look to move after that.
So good. I love that for you. And I think that, like you just said, you have had so much change. So I think that, having that opportunity to settle, breathe, is so important. Heather, what about you? What are you up to 2023? What's on the docket?
Well, I just hired my first ever development director, so I'm like thrilled. So a big part of us is we just went through strategic planning, and our community was like, we love what you're doing, but we need more of it in more places. And so we are kind of in that growth phase of trying to expand, but doing it in a way that's strategic and intentional, and being statewide, and is in a big, I say North Carolina is a big state, but a bigger state. So really trying to be intentional and not create burn out our staff in the meantime. So yeah, it's exciting, but it's also kind of both optimizing and expanding at the same time, and then trying to get more revenue in the door.
So how are you thinking about that? Because I think that oftentimes we are in our organizations and we have these opportunities that just like land in our lap, and it's like, I'd be crazy not to jump on this and give this a try. So how are you managing that and thinking about that?
So our staff, we actually meet quarterly for planning retreats and create quarterly rocks. And that's a lot about what we talk about in the community is, quarterly planning and those 90-day plans, but we do it as a staff, and we've done this for 2 years, following some other methods called Traction. If you haven't read that book, it's excellent. So using that framework, but really being intentional on what our priorities are and getting our whole entire staff aligned around a common goal. So we have the strategic plan, and then we talk about what is our annual plan and what are the rocks for the year, and then kind of diving into the quarterly planning. And so it's taken, a couple of years, but my staff craves it every quarter, and we come out aligned around that specific thing. And it may be things that are directly tied to our, plan for the year, but it also may be things as they come up, and it allows us that flexibility to say, okay, this just came in, or it also says, we're not going to chase the squirrels, if you will. So sometimes it's hard to not be like, shiny thing, yes. But having that alignment really helps.
That's incredible. I know that, I've seen firsthand how hard you've worked to really create those and create that. And I love hearing that your staff is creating that. That's incredible. So cool. Han, do you want to tell us what's up for 2023?
Yeah, so 2022 was a year of growth for us. We opened up our third location in Nepal. We have 3 centers around the Kathmandu Valley where we operate all of our programs. And that just opened up at the end of October. So that was really exciting. It had been something in progress over time. And so our reach, obviously, we're able to impact more women and children. But when we started this planning about a year and a half before, we never could have imagined that we'd be opening up right as the economic downturn and potential recession hit. So that's really led to a lot of planning, a lot of discussions. And so our plan for this year is really about diversifying our revenue. Our programs really are operating the way that we want them to, which is great. And so now it's really looking at how can we look into other avenues, corporate partnerships, what else, major donors, things like that, to kind of help us through what I know probably all of us are thinking about right now. Absolutely. So that's really our big plan.
So, being able to say that, you have experienced so much growth, but you've put a lot of intentional time to get to a place where your programs are running really, really well. What is it that is there something that you did over the last year that you feel like really helped you be able to be like, okay, this feels good, this program amazing, now I can kind of shift my mindset to focusing on this?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, I have to say it's all owed to our staff in Nepal. We have an incredible team. We have a team of about 30 teachers in management, and they really are guiding the programs at this point, which was really intentional for us. For us, it was to build these programs and provide support, but really it should be the community and the community members who are leading this because they know what the needs are. My job is really just to support them. And so we've been working together. We opened up the first location in 2014. So with each year, and as we continue to grow, kind of identify and working within those communities and really having those conversations with community leaders, community members about what the needs are, and creating the programs based on that. And so with that structure, I feel really good about where we are now. And yeah, just the support, because we do now have these 3 locations and we have some of our staff who has been with us for a while, they're able to support that growth and support those new staff members that are coming in to continue the programs in a way that is meaningful and impactful in the way that we built them.
That's incredible. And yeah, just being able to see the growth in each of your organizations over the last couple of years has been very, very cool, especially at a time that has been so upheaval. You know, the last 3 years have been nothing but, I don't know, different. What word are we using right now? But that kind of leads us into, you know, thinking about this community. What are, I think this question actually came in from Michelle. So diplomatic, thanks, Amy. It's been a little wild. But what have been some of the unexpected outcomes of this membership? John, I'm going to throw it back to you to.
For me, I apologize. I'm at home and we have workers going on because we had a leak. So if you hear them knocking, you can hear them in the other room. I apologize. Good. So for me, I think the unexpected benefits really has been the community. That's something, you know, when I joined with Rachel, and I can't remember, it's been a couple of years, kind of as you were first building the program.
Starting, yeah.
You know, to see it evolve and grow, and now to kind of create, there's this community of people like Heather and Trent, and I consider friends and colleagues, that there was no place for us before. Nobody was doing this idea of like a small shop. And so to have this community of people of like, hey, I'm working on this, do you guys have any ideas? Or, you know, just bouncing ideas off of each other like that, for me, that's really been kind of the biggest benefit, along with kind of as I've grown over time. Actually, I should back up. When I first started, it was very different, right? Like the curriculum and the templates and all of those were so key into helping kind of create the systems of our organization and grow. And then now, as I've gone through that, now we're at this point where like the Slack community is really so beneficial. Being able to work with Rachel on kind of our communications and things like that.
You have really been through an evolution. I think it was called Small Shop School when we started. It's now different.
It was summer school.
Summer school, yes, it was summer school. It's been a few names now. Heather, what about you?
No, I mean, I completely agree. I think originally it was, you know, feeling so, this role can be very isolating, especially if you're not in a community of friends and people who get it. So joining originally, it was like, I was really excited about the content and the templates, not having to start from scratch. And also just like that boost of productivity energy that we all like sometimes need throughout the year of, okay, my inbox is out of control. Like, how can I help? And like, there's stuff for that, or not having to reinvent the wheel. But then I agree with Johanna. It's like, now it's like the community of people who can offer different insights, different experiences, help you solve a problem. Like literally 2 days ago, I was like, this is the issue I'm having on Facebook. And Jahan put together a Loom video on how I did it. And that wasn't coming from Rachel. Like, she's a great part of the resources and she's been instrumental, but it was, oh no, I got you there. Like, this is how I did it. And this was a trick for me too. And so just that very specific community that understands exactly what you're going through.
Yeah. And I don't think I told you guys, I use the video too, because I was having the same problem. Like, we all support each other. There's not this idea of, you know, it all comes from, you know, Rachel. Like, no, this is a collective, Amy, yes, peer supported experience, because it's a community. We all have our zones of genius, and being able to bring them all together. And collectively, one of the things we have is a shared folder that has lots of different documents from all different organizations of bylaws and board member positions and budgets and like all kinds of things, that if you need something, you can go there and see what other people have done, like in real time. Trent, what about you? What's been
Yeah, when I joined, I has just finished maybe a year into my job, and I took this position in August of 2019, and I had come from a long time of teaching as a professor, music and musical theater, and then of course 6 months in, COVID hit. So for me, definitely, I had a lot of imposter syndrome I was dealing with when I first joined this community, and it was really great to have people be like, "Oh no, you've got this. You know what you're doing. We've got you." You know, to have people helping. You know, as Heather mentioned, it can be very lonely at the top, because there's not really anybody you can share everything with in your organization. You know, who you're working with. So to have other people who are in the same position, and who you realize you are not crazy, we're experiencing the same things with you on a daily basis, is really affirming, that they have hard days too, and you deal with the same hard things, and we can do hard things, as Glennon Doyle says. And so I think that, you know, we learn to do that together, and we help uplift each other and support each other in that regard. And I also, having a background in education, I love the curriculum. I love the templates. We have been using the annual plan template from the beginning. I just finished this year's. And it's straight from this program, and it really helped us see kind of what we were doing, and stacking things up, like, oh, we're doing too many things this month. We've got to move some things around. That has been so helpful, you know, just knowing like, wow, this is such an easy thing that we never thought about doing, but now that we can see this, we know, oh, let's make our lives simpler. Let's make our lives more efficient. So definitely, I don't want to underestimate the educational piece to this, but the community certainly has been, for me, the most affirming part, and really helped me get through into the confidence I needed to do the job.
That annual plan template makes me laugh every time. For background, that was something I sketched in my notebook when I was an ED. It is the most simple thing. If you join Sprouted, I am actually doing an annual planning workshop on Friday. You will get the template.
I have 2 years planned out on that dang thing.
So
Just 'cause
good.
it's an easy like snapshot.
It's
Yes.
the only thing that lives up on my wall. I've told everybody about it. Yes, I'm right there with you. And I'm actually working on it as we speak.
Oh my gosh, I love all of this. Debbie's chiming in, it's so good. Okay, so each of you kind of came into this program for different reasons. You know, I think we think about these communities like there's the opportunity for curriculum and templates and meaning, like, did you come in for the curriculum? Did you come in for like what was the unexpected, like you came in for this, but you got this. What was that? Heather, I'm gonna jump to you.
I came in for you, Rachel.
Oh, well.
Just, I mean, yes, but no, I mean, I think I came in mostly for the curriculum, but then just like the whole package of being in a community and that promise of community. There was some local ones here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they're wonderful. And I do attend them from time to time, but also it's almost freeing to be with people from across the country, because there's no you can be more honest. There's no gossip mill. There's no, we're all from serving different missions. And so you don't feel that like need to protect yourself from being vulnerable or that kind of thing. So I feel like you can be more free. So I think I came in for the curriculum, I came in for more expertise, but I got a community, that better fits for me. And not to say there's not people from multiple, people in each state, but it's just a different feeling with this group.
I love that. Do you, Jahan or Trent, do either of you want to add to that? Like, did you come in for something really specific and end up being just like surprised?
Yeah, I think I also came in, as I mentioned, being an educator, I was like, oh, wow, great. There's a curriculum to follow. There's documents, there's templates. And I think the community part surprised me pleasantly. And it's kind of as Heather said, there's really a level of candor you can have in this community because we all are all over. So even though we get to know each other well, there's still like a level of anonymity because, we're not, there's no one else. We're like all in different communities when we go out to wherever we are. So we can truly be 100% authentic and 100% raw and honest about what's going on because we're doing great work all over the country, all over the continent. And actually that's really inspiring to see. I leave our calls thinking, wow, there are people doing what I'm doing everywhere. And, even when you're having a rough day, just to know that, just to stop and think, look at all these people doing all these great things all across the country, even in Canada, even in Australia, wherever they are, like that's really awesome to stop and think about.
Amazing. John, do you want to add anything or?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I came in because for the first time as an ED of a small nonprofit, I felt seen. I felt like everything else that was out there, my background is in publishing. It has nothing to do with nonprofits. So like Trent said, I have had and have a ton of imposter syndrome. And so really being self-taught and working my way through of like, how do we do this? What are we doing? And everything that was out there was for these big multi-million organizations, all of the support and the coaching and things like that. And so this was the first time that I was like, somebody's speaking to me and speaking to our organization that I believe in, an organization that I believe is doing good. And all these other nonprofits are doing the same, but we weren't getting the support that I think that we all needed to grow. And so that's really what brought me in. And then, I know we keep on talking about the community, but it's true. I think the community has given us a place. There's so much more vulnerability in this community than I ever imagined, which I really appreciate, that we can like come to each other with these really hard things and talk about it and come up with solutions where before it was so isolating. So that's all I just wanted to add.
I started this because I was like, I've been an ED, teach what you know. And the community was a surprise to me. I was like, we're going to put this information out there. Organizations are going to be able to raise more money and they're going to be able to. I kind of had this idea of like, they need more things, they need more stuff. And that's actually not it at all. It's knowing that you're not alone. It's knowing, and this goes for me too, knowing that you're not alone, knowing that this is hard. Like, there's not a silver bullet in running a nonprofit. There is no right answer. There is no, this is the exact thing you do. Like, yes, there are steps. Yes, there are things that you can do. And we try to work through that in the community. But I mean, it's just knowing you're not alone, knowing that this is hard. It's knowing that, the way a board member is treating you is not okay. I mean, that's been a lot of conversation, knowing that, that it really sucks when you don't raise what you think you're going to raise, even though you've worked so freaking hard. There's not a right answer to that. But knowing you're not alone, and you hold, like when you're an ED, you hold a lot. Things that people just don't get. And I didn't know how to articulate that when I was an ED. It was like, yeah, I know that I made this decision and you're frustrated by it, but I made it for all of these reasons that you can't explain. So I created the thing and I'm shocked by it. I was like, wow, this community is so cool. And there are 3 of you up here, but I mean, there are so many people in this community that are amazing. So yeah. Heather, were you going to say something? Did I cut you off? No. So, okay, I think Amy just said something, loving this discussion and feel like I'm a tweener because I'm in a small local shop that's been part of a big global entity. It's interesting perspective. Yeah. I don't know what I want to say to that, because I was part of a larger organization, and then I also had a local chapter, and I think that it's just being able to know that, like, it doesn't matter kind of where you are in the world, like we're all kind of dealing with similar things and we all have something to give or something to support.
And I feel like I've been in that tweener, but this community still would have been a good fit for there. And then even being a statewide, I mean, I have 8 staff members, so I feel like I'm kind of in the larger side of a small shop too, but I've definitely found value in what this community has to offer. And I think there's a good handful of us that have a decent sized staff. And it's actually been super helpful for staff. I mean, for us to have other people who have staff too, and working through those issues.
And I think, and then there's also organizations who have no staff and who are just volunteer or have just one person, and each a different level, or at different levels, you're able to either learn from somebody who's already been there, or you're able to provide support because you've been there. Like there's a lot of reciprocity that circulates throughout the community. So okay, this question, this is another one of the questions that came in, and there were actually quite a few about the professional development side, because in a small shop, that's not always a line item. It's not always something that it feels like a luxury. So how much time do each of you dedicate to this? Is it personal time? Is it professional time? Like, how do you kind of get it into, how do you make this work? Trent, we'll start with you.
So I certainly try to take advantage of all the calls that I can. It's great that we have a calendar that kind of keeps track of those things. I feel like there's a lot of value in the community calls and in the bonus calls from experts in different areas. I do set aside time on my calendar every week to dig into the curriculum. So it's about a 2-hour block that I set aside on my calendar to go through things. I think that I'm excited about the new direction that the curriculum's taking. I think it leads. I've had a sneak peek, I have to say. So in all transparency, so I think the way that the journey is going to go is going to make a lot more sense, and so I'm excited to go there as well, because I did sort of pick and choose, situationally based on where I was, what I needed. But it's easy for me. It's like I said, I was an educator. I have degrees in education. Professional development to me is a no. I mean, I have built it into our budget. I've made that clear to the board that the staff need that. We're always learning until the day we die. So it's definitely important to me that the staff and myself continue to grow in the ways that we need to do our jobs at the best that we can. And this program right now for me is the thing that helps me to get where I need to be.
Wow. So John, somebody who is in the complete opposite, you are not in the education space. How does this make sense for you?
I feel inspired listening to Trent.
Aren't we always?
Well, it's true. That's true. I wish I was more structured in how I approach it. I think earlier on, as I was moving through the curriculum, I did just kind of set aside some time each week. It varied. I've always worked at home because, like I said, our programs are in Nepal, and kind of juggling that with 2 young kids. So it was kind of more where I could plug in. And so at this point, I make it a point to get to all the calls, because I find that the calls are really so valuable. Whether I have questions or, come up with, I can't tell you how many times I've been on a call and somebody said something, I'm like, that's an amazing idea. And it's like a way that I can kind of work that, even though we do something completely different. I know I'm totally getting off of topic, but just the benefit of that. And then I tend to kind of do what Trent was saying, but situationally, I go back to those bonus calls. Those bonus calls are gold. And I'm so glad that they're recorded and they're there, because there will be something that comes up that I need to do. And I'm like, oh, I can go back, listen to like 20 minutes and have it all figured out. So yeah, I do make time for it. It's just not as structured as I would like it to be.
And now the cool part with the new, so there is a new platform that we're using. You can search for stuff, which is so cool, which is not something we could do, which made it a little hard. But because once you do go through the curriculum, you're not going to be able to apply every single thing. Like who can do that? But you're going to be like, you know what? Now I need to create my annual plan, and you can go and you can grab it, and it's there for you. And the bonus call, the bonus calls are freaking gold. There's been some that I think I uploaded all of them, and there's like 42 of them, like so much cool stuff. So Joe just asked, does the membership cover all of your professional development needs, or a foundation that you supplement elsewhere? This is a great question. Heather, can I pass this one on to you?
Yeah, so I kind of view I view the membership as like my baseline sanity support group. I mean, truly, it's the bare minimum. And I will say, for me, for the curriculum, I did it I binged it, and then I know it's there, and then as needed, kind of go into it. I have been bad about the calls lately, but I love the Slack channel because I can go in as needed or chime in as needed. So that's where like I connect probably the most. But to me, it's like the baseline. And then the way I view professional development is like, I knew last year that I needed more development help. And so I went to Jess Campbell's development, her end of year campaigns that convert. And so that was like my extra for that year. But I kind of view the community as just the baseline, and it does offer a ton of development support, a ton of just everyday planning, organizational strategy support. But if you need something that's niche, that's something extra. But to me, these programs have always had an ROI, whether it's Jess's or small shop Sprouted. It's always had an ROI, and the biggest ROI is me not getting as burnt out.
Yeah,
So.
And also people to say, whoa, Heather, you've got a lot on your plate. We're not afraid to kind of call each other out or say, hold on.
Right.
You don't seem like you're okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's, Trent, we kind of had an experience like that on a call with you, where it was kind of a pile on of goodness, where, I don't know if you want to tell the story of just like feeling really isolated, and then everyone jumped in.
Yeah, that was actually surprising. I mean, I'd been in the program for a while, but that was it was very, very touching, and just at right the moment when I needed it. And I think that's a great thing, is that there's some serendipity that happens in this program. Sometimes things happen when they're supposed to happen, even if you don't know that they're going to happen. But I do think that maybe your tagline should be your baseline sanity support group. I really like that. They're
Yeah,
brought up
I
there.
am
Because
really
I think
thinking
that's
about.
true. I think that's true. I think a lot of times I'm like, am I crazy? And then I come here and like, no, you're not crazy. Just did that, went through that yesterday. So I think that there's a lot of, again, that affirmation that these are normal things that EDs go through, and we all are going through them, and we're here to help each other go through them. And I think that that's what makes this group such a great foundation for what you're doing. Of course, in my world, as an arts administrator, I have to go out and go, talk to other orchestras, and there's specific work I have to do for my specific field. But this group definitely helps prepare me to be the best manager I can be, the best leader I can be, and to have the best structure and operational structure that I can have. And that all happens right here in this group.
And Joe, I think to your point about kind of all your needs for, as you grow and evolve, like if you are brand new or you're just trying to like figure out how to have more hours in the day, that's where this curriculum is going to really support you. And then what's really fantastic, I do remember both Johan and Heather were in just the same program, and it was so cool during year end because I could check in. I'd be like, hey, did you apply this thing? Or, I know about these programs too, and can support or offer additional feedback or provide some accountability sometime, and so we're all kind of, they're kind of teaching the same things. We're like, but there is that baseline, and then you are eventually going to need something else, and that is okay. When you get to that point, you're going to be raising more. Johan.
I was going to jump in because I was thinking, the three of us have all been in this program for a while. So I feel like we're kind of at a different place, and we keep on talking about the community and all these things. And, but going back to the beginning, and, what Heather said, it really is like, I think about like all I learned at the beginning, the systems and the organization that allowed me to operate in a way that was much more productive. And I hate to use that word, but it is like it got me to, it helped me systematize in a way that allowed me to use my brain for the other things that I really needed to use it to allow us to continue to grow, to allow us to start thinking about like, okay, how are we gonna open up this third center? How are we gonna build our donor base, right? So I think that part that we haven't really talked about is so important, that the curriculum, and again, I think it's because we've been kind of on this side of it, but there's all these other things that you can continue to grow and place on top of that foundation of the curriculum.
Yeah, I completely agree. I remember prior to joining, it was like, I'm tired of creating these systems all the time for myself. And I mean, I've been a ED for 5 or 6 years by the time I joined, but it was just like, it's exhausting. And so having just, oh, have you thought about doing it this way? Or here is a template to do it without that guesswork of like, am I doing this right? Is this a good use of my time? And like having that handed to you, like, here's a way to manage your time. Here's a way to plan for the year. Here's some questions to think about as you're doing annual planning and those types of systems. Here's a whole template for Asana. That I created a welcome series, and I have a 50% open rate on my welcome series, and Rachel was instrumental in helping me create that, but it's meant more donor engagement and it's in place and I do nothing. So like those things in the beginning have really helped.
Okay, so this, like, so how do you, like, you don't own, like, it's not your money, or is it your money? How do you pay for it? How do you either get it into your budget, or how are you doing that? Heather, do you want to keep expanding on that a little bit?
So I view it as my responsibility as a leader to invest in my own, but I also have budget for professional development. So I do pay for small shop for Sprouted on my own. But that isn't to say if I went to my board and said, I've been doing this, would you pay for it? That they wouldn't. They would totally support that. But I just feel like sometimes I have to take that initiative myself too, because it's investing in myself, which is not for everybody. I understand. It's just the way that I've been able to pull the trigger, and having a monthly option makes it much more affordable. And so it's just like something that I'm investing in myself and my own self-care. But we budget each year for a certain amount of whole entire team professional development. And so each person knows that they have, a few $100s or more, depending on what it is, that they can invest in themselves. And so I don't expect my staff to take after me. I know that everyone's like, no, you shouldn't be paying for it, but it's just what I do.
That's fair. And that's, you're not alone with that. Trent, John, either of you want to jump in on Trent?
So yeah, we have in the budget, there is $500 for each employee to have, including myself, for professional development. If there is something that they feel really strongly about that's more than that, then they can fill out a form that will go before the Budget and Finance Committee to see if that can happen, and give their compelling argument for why that should happen. My board has been very supportive of this move toward, knowing that in order to be successful, you need to have the most educated and people and the most confident people in place in what they're doing. And it's changing all the time. The world of nonprofits is changing all the time. It's changed in the 3 years since COVID has happened. So, there's just so much to continue to learn and to do and to develop in yourself and in your position that you're in, that I think that it's important to have that money set aside, or to make a case for why you should give that money to be a part of a program that can help you grow and develop, and to do better, to do greater things for the organization. At the end of the day, that money's kind of hopefully yield thrice, quadruple, quintuple, what you are using to pay for it on the back end. So you kind of have to see the end goal right at the beginning.
I love that. I'm gonna pop a template in, because obviously I have a template in case you need to be talking to your board. It's a letter. I wrote it for you, so it should be good. John, what about
Rachel,
you? How did you? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna add in. So when I started, I was kind of like Heather. At that point, we had no professional development, and we were coming out of a pretty tough time. We had a funding gap, and we weren't sure that we were ever going to be able to keep the doors open at that point. So the idea of investing in something outside of anything programs seemed way too far out for us. And so at that point, I started just paying for it myself. But over the course of a couple of months, I realized the importance of this, and so much of what Trent is saying about the importance of education, both for myself and our team. And so at that point, after we kind of got over that hump, thankfully, and we're in a different place, we now have worked it into our budget, professional development for all team members. And that comes out in different ways, kind of based on what their needs are and things like that. But it helped me, Heather mentioned the ROI. It really made me realize the ROI on educating ourselves is so important. And so it's not taking from the nonprofit, it actually is helping the organization way more than anything that we would put out.
Yeah. That's such good feedback, because I think feedback and just perspective, because I think we all choose to do things differently, and how we, how we decide to invest in something, what we decide to invest in. It's all very, personal, and it's, but it's also important. And there at the end of the day, there is an ROI. You will get, like, I feel like if you used one of the fundraising templates, we had an ED who sent out an email, and in 7 minutes made $1,000. Can I promise that to everyone? No, absolutely not. I make no promises, but holy cow, like, it was there. she just needed the confidence to hit send. That's what that whole thing was. And that's where a lot of, you know, that ROI does come back. So I did pop a letter in if you need some support in going and talking to your board. Enrollment does close February 6th, so you have a little bit of time. If you join this week, you do get to join the annual planning workshop that we're doing. But okay, so as we kind of wrap up, and if you have questions, pop them in. I'm seeing here that Debbie is also with Heather. I invest in Sprouted for my own personal development and sanity. Looking at adding a professional development line this year, though. Debbie, totally use the proposal to work. But is there is there something that you have learned within the program that you're like, oh my gosh, this is incredible, like this works, I'm doing this? Heather, I kind of want you to talk about the Welcome series, because I mean, I think I was cheering alongside you when that was happening because it was so cool to watch. I feel like you had to bring more people in to support you. You talk about that because that was cool.
So when someone joins our mailing list, and so again, we're dementia, we're serving people living with dementia, Alzheimer's. So a lot of the people who join our email list are caregivers. And so I wanted them to feel like they were part of a community and that they were seen and heard. And so we created, I think it's a 3, 4, maybe even 5-part drip campaign through Constant Contact. And it welcomes them into the community. And then it's just dripping valuable content. We also have put a survey in that, asking them for like more details of what they're here and what gaps there are in the community. So that informs our choices as we're doing more strategic planning and programming. But people respond back. And what we have found is, because it's coming from me, it's like an unbranded thing, but I've been able to just put it on and forget about it, is people will reply back and say, you know, oh my gosh, Heather, thank you so much. My mom just got diagnosed. I don't know what to do. And then I'm able to plug them into services and support in a way that's more personal. And so like that mission fulfillment has been excellent. There is an ask for donations at the end. I actually turned that off for end of year giving season. But what I have found is those people may not give right away, but then they're giving at end of year time. And so, like I mentioned before, I think it's got like a 50 or a 54% open rate throughout the series as a whole, like on average. And so, but just the amount of people who respond back to me has been really cool for engagement.
I feel like that was one of those like, oh my gosh, like these are the things that we need to be learning about, because you don't have time to engage with every single person one-on-one. And this was something that you were able to set up and implement, and that's also part of being a small shop, working more efficiently and effectively. And that was one of those things. Okay, I've made you tell that story. Was there anything else that that you feel like kind of was like, okay, wow, this is cool?
I also agree that the bonus calls are really helpful. And when you can like dive in deeply to one, and I think we had one on like monthly giving. And so that really helped me to like, inspired me to really put that monthly giving piece in place as a part of our strategy, and gave me some real ways to do that. I think I really went back 2 or 3 times and watched that and paused and took notes. And so that was another one that was really helpful for me.
Awesome. Trent, what about you?
So I have a very specific one. I don't think I've told you this yet, Rachel.
Ooh,
So
I'm
end
excited.
of the year, myself and my director of development, Wendy, who has done some stuff in this program too, we decided, you know what? Very early on, Rachel had talked to us about Slide Broadcast, which is a thing where you can pop voicemails into people's phones. And so we each took 2 minutes to record little messages. It took a minute to send them to 150 people, and that actually helped us in 3 days raise $3,000. Just that 7 minutes of time, we were able to raise 3,000 more than we thought we would at the end of the year. We did that in the week between Christmas and New Year's. And really, we didn't even ask for money. We just said, hey, I just want to say thank you for being a part of our organization this year. We're so thankful for you. I hope you have a really great, happy New Year. And here's hoping that we can connect. And the new year, we had probably 20 phone calls. People just called us back to talk to us, and then we had people give, and it was just a real concrete example of data of how something from this program brought fruit to our organization.
I love that. And it wasn't even an ask. People just needed to be seen.
No, and it took 5 minutes, and we're definitely not going to go back from doing that. We're going to definitely do that again. So
I love that. John, what about you?
So I think my answer is a little bit different. For me, one of the things that comes to mind is the confidence that I've gained in this, which is not, being a small shop, again, kind of like growing, if you're like a newer ED or you're a founder ED, like confidence in raising money is so hard. Right? To get to that point of feeling comfortable to make the ask. And when I came into this program, I was so uncomfortable. And so, because I didn't know how to do it, I didn't know what to do and I didn't know how to do it. And, I've learned so many important ways of how to make that connection with donors, how to build that relationship, also how to share the impact of the work so that they feel good about what they're doing. And so I think I've gained the confidence in asking for money, which is a hard thing to do. I'm not gonna lie, I think it's always gonna be hard. I think there's a few people out there who are just rock stars at it and that's their thing, but to be able to do it and feel good about it and feel that it's authentic. For me, that's one of the most important things, is that our relationship with our donors remained authentic, because they are the ones that keep these programs going. And so to be able to create that relationship and keep it going and to be able to make the ask is something that I truly am so grateful for in doing this program.
I mean, I've watched each of you over the last couple of years. Like, I think you're spot on with the confidence that can come from this. I mean, in big ways and little ways, but it kind of goes back to that community. It kind of goes back to just the knowing that you're not alone, knowing that, okay, there is somebody who has done this before, or has tips, or there is a framework. It's out there and it's available. And I mean, I'm like a proud parent, even though I'm not a parent. You guys are all parents and I'm not, but it's like just to see that confidence grow, to see just the remarkable things that you're able to do inside your organization. So Michelle just asked, can you explain the bonus? Oh, and you have another question. Okay, bonus calls, real quick. Each month we try to bring in a subject matter expert and talk on something really specific that isn't something I necessarily like go into in the membership. I can't be all things. I just can't do that. But like legacy giving, that was something that we had a conversation on. We had a conversation about mental health. We have had a conversation, oh my gosh, help me out, guys. We talked about data, budgeting. What have been some of your favorite bonus calls?
Was there one on conflict or?
Yeah, conflict management.
Mm-hmm.
We never have to do that in our organizations, right? Just joking. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole library of them. So once a month, I try to bring somebody in, I try to get your feedback, I try to pull from like kind of what we're talking about around that time and go from there. Michelle, we are not all in the same time zone. I think we have 7 time zones in, like, at least that's what it tells me on Slack when I hit an all message. So I think for you, Michelle, it would be connecting through the Slack channel, and the times are set. There is a schedule, there's a calendar, but there's kind of calls coming up. You know, every month we're kind of, you'll be able to see what the calls are, so you can plan and schedule around them. I would say that they do happen usually within like Pacific and Eastern time zone. So if you join, we'd have to think about that a little bit. So any final words as we wrap up? We have just a couple minutes left. Jahan, do you want to, like, somebody's on the fence, what do you say to them?
I think just try it. I mean, it's a monthly option, see what happens. That was kind of the way I got into this. It was summer school, so I think it was like a 6-week program or something like that, and just thought, like, let's see what happens. And like we were saying earlier, what I got out of it was so much more, what it gave me kind of that foundational ability to do all the things that I had always wanted to do. So 1 month, try it.
Trent, what about you?
I think I want to encourage everyone to invest in themselves. And I think that being a part of this program is, investing in yourself, because you can't be the best leader or manager you can be unless you have taken the time to, really be intentional about what you're doing and how you're doing that. And so don't be afraid to invest in yourself so that you can, lead your organization very successfully.
Love that.
Yeah, I will echo what both of these wonderful colleagues have said, and just invest in yourself. There's, if it's not for you after 2-3 months, then, at least that this resource is out there for you. But I also feel like, what you put into the community, the more you put in, as with anything, the more you get out, but it's also very manageable for our busy schedules. And so, there's not checklists of you have to do this or you're out. It's, putting as much in as you can, and that's what you'll get out. And I also will plug, Jahan and Trent and I are also coaches within the community and are starting this year specific groups. Like Trent's really good at board management, and so he's going to be running a call on board management. I'm going to be running one on planning, strategic planning, and more HR issues. So I don't know what Jahan's is yet. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's such a wealth of knowledge. And you also get Rachel just being our cheerleader and helping us find out answers, and being just the wonderful person that she is for all the things. So, it's such a cool community, and we're here to support you as fellow executive directors.
Thank you. Yeah, that was, being able to add more people, being able to increase the knowledge is, it's so cool. John, were you going to say something? Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying about my call. I think
Yes.
We're going to focus on stewardship.
Yes.
And gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, so you've got leadership, you've got board, you've got stewardship, relationship building. We do monthly, I will review the things that you, I'll do critique. So if you have a letter or something like that, I will review it. A second pair of eyes. We do just straight coaching calls where it's like, hey, what's going on? What do you need help with? And then we also have a monthly planning call where you can, once you get into the curriculum, you'll see why it's very important, but being able to track your metrics. So, calls that really add, things that you know you should be doing anyway, but like just adding some structure, giving you a place to have the time to do it. So yeah, but we are at time. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I am so grateful for everyone who joined. Thank you for being here. If you have more questions, shoot me an email. You can find me on Instagram, find me on LinkedIn, but this is a cool place. It's a cool place and it's a good program. Also, I've got 3 dogs. They will always be on every single call. They know when it's wrap up time. But yeah, if you have questions, ask them. Don't be afraid to ask. This is an open community and Morty's here to answer all the questions. So with that, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for being here and yeah, hope to see you on the other side. And thank you to each of you for joining. You guys are amazing. So, all right, have a good one. Bye.